Let me quote in part the magnificent editorial in today's edition. I quote, "It shouldn't be a very complicated issue in a multi-ethnic city. It is wrong for one racial group to boycott the stores of another using inflammatory and racist language, passing out demagogic handbills and organizing demonstrations in which members of the targeted group are threatened with violence. If the Ku Klux Klan were to appear in New York picketing stores owned by blacks, distributing flyers complaining that, quote, our people are being forced to shop with people who do not look like us, and issuing death threats directed at white clergymen who counsel tolerance, there would be widespread and justifiable outrage. The city's media would expose and attack the racists. So would the city's elected officials. Why are the rules different when the victims are Korean immigrants and the racists blacks? This is the central question to which the ongoing campaign against Korean grocery stores in Brooklyn's Flatbush neighborhood gives rise. For 2 months now, self-professed anti-white activist, anti-Semitic, anti-white Sonny Carson, and a group called the Flatbush Coalition for Economic Empowerment have engaged on a daily basis in an effort to organize a black boycott of all Korean stores. Carson and company pass out flyers and chant slogans, quote, the pigs and Koreans are in it together. That's one favorite. This is war is another. Death threats have reportedly been issued against Haitian leaders urging peaceful resolution of the dispute. The boycotters, needless to say, have a pretext. As in previous anti-Korean campaigns waged by this scumbag Carson, an incident in a store set events in motion. A black woman suspected of shoplifting acted disruptively and then claimed the Korean shop owner had beaten her. As before, flyers giving inflammatory accounts of the incident appeared almost immediately. But it's clear even from the handbills that Carson and his group have a larger agenda. They mean to drive the Koreans out of the neighborhood. Then they hope to establish a black-owned farmers market operating in a competition-free monopoly environment. Flatbush is a multi-ethnic neighborhood, home to many who cherish its ethnic diversity. That diversity is threatened by the seeming impunity with which rabble-rousers like Carson are able to operate. There's no evidence that Carson speaks for Flatbush blacks, but the reluctance of local blacks to denounce him is apparent. Consider the threats leveled at the Haitian leaders. There is, of course, someone Carson and his fellow racists couldn't possibly intimidate, someone who could speak out and in one fell swoop end this unseemly episode. Guess who that one person is? That's right. But so far, David Dinkins has been silent, despite repeated requests from Koreans and from local officials that he intervene. They are looking for a sign that the mayor elected for his capacity to heal and unify believes Koreans are part of the, quote, gorgeous mosaic he describes so eloquently. Dinkins' silence, sad to say, is being interpreted by many in the neighborhood as a tacit support for Carson and his group. The Post goes on to say, we know without asking. Now the Post is not speaking for me because I don't agree with the Post on this, but here's what they say, in all fairness to the Post. We know without asking that David Dinkins has no use for racist rabble-rousers. We know he includes Korean immigrants in his gorgeous mosaic vision. We urge him to speak out soon. End of quote. It's in that last paragraph that I disagree with the Post. I don't know anything of the kind. As a matter of fact, by his silence, I disagree with the Post openly. I don't think David Dinkins gives a darn about the Koreans. I don't think David Dinkins gives a darn about anybody but the blacks. So there. And until he shows otherwise, I'm going to continue to think that. So there.
pester you or to beleaguer you. I just do it to have the question answered. I also have some information on another sicko that calls you every once in a while. The guy who calls you playing the harmonica. He had called another show on your network a couple of weeks ago. He is, in fact, the same person that calls up and asks you about the penguin.
Oh, really? He's the same one?
He is the same one. He went on to, for about 10 minutes, well, not 10 minutes, but for a while, play his harmonica, and then he hit the other caller, the other host, with a penguin-type question.
Well, you see, that's even more annoying than the other. At least the fellow with the LIB, at least he was clever and always began by being in concert with the program.
Right.
He was in context.
That's how I...
And he would always ask good questions.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, I began to realize who it was and let him go on. But in the control room, because of, shall we say, conditioned reflex, they would immediately cut him. And then I said, wait a minute, let's hear the guy out. Mm-hmm. And that's what we did today. Now, what are you confessing, though?
Well, that's happened to me several times. Several times I've called you up and we've discussed whatever topic you were discussing. Then I would ask you my question, and you would either hang up on me or you would call me a sicko or something along those lines. And you never really answered the question that I had for you.
And you want me, right now, I can tell, you want me to say, well, what was the question, and then you'll ask me.
Well, can you guess which person I am? You are an expert in voices, as I know.
Can I guess which person you are? Well, you're taking so many calls, 40, 50 calls every day.
Well, I'm not one of your average sickolas. As you yourself have called me before, I am a AAA sickola.
A AAA?
AAA sickola. And many a time you've wished that you could punch my nose down my throat.
Well, you're not the toupee guy.
No, I am not.
That's Jerry. At least that's the name he gives. Mm-hmm. And at times, have you echoed the LIB guy? Have you asked about the line about LIB?
No, I have an agenda all to my own. As a matter of fact, no one has even imitated my style or my agenda.
Very interesting. You want to phrase the question?
Well, one of the questions that I have asked you, and it was a simple question to start with. It was a raging debate in our office. And
I hope it wasn't one of those "have you stopped beating your wife" type questions.
No.
Okay.
The question simply was, is Goofy a dog or is he half wolf?
Oh, you're that guy. Well, you haven't called for a while.
No, I have been busy as of late.
Uh-huh. Why? When you were a kid, you probably were fascinated with Goofy.
Well, it's not so much a fascination. It's more like a debate that we've been having here, and I figured someone of your knowledge...
I think one time you asked why one Disney character had a top and no bottom, and the other had a bottom and no top.
Correct. Why Donald Duck was dressed from the waist up while Mickey Mouse is dressed from the waist down.
I guess the only one who could answer that question would be Walt Disney, and he's in no condition to talk. But that is a good question. What is Goofy anyway? Now that you ask.
Maybe I could take this opportunity to ask your other listeners to call in. Perhaps, well, if they don't. I'm sure they would all have an opinion, but perhaps one of them has a definite viewpoint as to which is which.
Barney, you're trying to figure out what animal Goofy is?
Well, the debate rages on whether he is completely a dog or whether he is half dog and half wolf.
All right, half dog or half wolf.
Those seem to be the two sides.
Okay.
I've even gone so far as to call Disney over this, and they are not quite sure.
Well, that's it. You see, these characters were created way, way back in the 20s and early 30s by Walt Disney himself, and nobody questioned him. He just drew these characters, and they had the animation, and that was that, and people liked them.
Well, the good argument against the fact that he's a dog is that Pluto is a dog, and Pluto is actually Goofy's dog. Now, if Goofy was a dog, there is no way that he'd be able to stand on his hind legs, and there's no way that he'd be able to walk around with clothes on.
Dear me, you gotta be a clever guy to think what you're thinking. So you're not such a sickola after all.
I try not to be, Bob. As a matter of fact, one time you even went so far as to tell me I had a good head on my shoulders when I called you up and asked you about Richard Carter, or whom I prefer to refer to as Dick Carter.
Uh-huh. Well, Dick Carter looks a little like he could be related to Goofy.
Well, he looks a little like his name, just between you and I, Bob.
Very good. Listen, Barney, I appreciate the call. Confession is good for the soul. And thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
On WABC.
Can I speak?
Sure, you can speak. What do I care? By the way, pal, you always call a talk show with a cold.
This is the first time I've
I'm
ever
trying.
called a talk show.
Really? I tell you what, I want to make you feel at home, so I'm going to talk the same way you do. Okay, make you feel at home. Go ahead.
Prior to
Prior to
1795,
1795,
Lithuania and Poland, through a marriage union, had become a single kingdom. In
I know that has
1795,
nothing to do with what I said. I know historically that's correct. But in 1940, when they were annexed by the Soviet Union after the invasion, we did not recognize the annexation. I'm not arguing about
it. It was already a part of Russia.
Okay, it was a part of Russia. Thank you.
17...
All right, it was a part of
Can
Russia.
I finish?
Okay, it was a part of Russia.
Can I finish what I wanted to say?
Sure you can.
In 1795, Prussia, Russia, and Austria cut up the dual kingdom of Poland and Lithuania. And at that time, Russia took Lithuania. Thank you.
Thank you. We're both relieved. Matt, you're on.
Before you had the caller on, I guess all the sickos are fessing up today. You had the caller on who said that the harmonica guy was the same guy that does the penguin.
Well, that's what he said.
Well, he's wrong, because I'm the guy who does the penguin. And I've also sent you a couple of pictures. I don't know if I know you commented about one of them once.
Why are you obsessed with the penguin? Why?
Well, it was a joke that we had at work because your resemblance to a certain character actor who portrays the penguin.
Burgess Meredith?
Yes.
Oh, dear. I don't think I look like Burgess Meredith.
No, a lot of people have said it.
I know a lot of people
like him.
Huh?
You don't look exactly like him, but you resemble him.
Well, I've been told that many times, but I don't see it.
Usually, when someone tells you he looks like someone, you don't see, usually, don't see it for yourself, but, no one really sees himself that others see them. But, yeah, I'm the one I've also sent you pictures, so,
Of the penguin?
Yeah, I sent you a picture of you on the microphone, and I sent one with an envelope saying, your influence counts, I think. I don't know if you've gotten the second one, but I think...
No, there's a lot of mail I don't get for a variety of reasons.
I'll send you another copy, but I just wanted to say that I'm not the harmonica. I don't even own a harmonica. So I think this guy's off base with the...
Yeah, well, at least with the guy with the goofy thing and the LIB guy, and even Jerry with the obsession with the toupee, there's a certain amount of cleverness with all of you guys. But the guy at harmonica, there's nothing clever about that at all. There's nothing amusing, nothing clever.
Yeah.
They just over and over again with the harmonica.
Yeah, at least I had musical background.
At least you have a little production, a little creativity. You want to do it right now so everybody...
Yeah, I got it all set, ready?
Okay, go ahead.
Here we go.
Fine feathers.
Here we go, Bob. You got it?
I heard it. Okay. Thank you, Adam West. Oh, dear. Let's see. Anybody else want to make a confession? Al?
Confession. Coincidentally, I was Burgess Meredith's press agent at the time he was doing the Penguin.
Are you serious?
Absolutely. And nobody told him he looked like you.
I bet you they didn't.
Nice old man. Bob, I am your garden variety sickola, because I get sick when I read certain things that are going on. And I'd like to say something about, in that connection, about the hostage situation.
All right.
I think every American is very frustrated and concerned and unhappy and wishes they could do something about the hostages.
Yep.
But I also believe there should be an award for chutzpah to Peggy Say, the sister of Terry Anderson, who is moving a protest against the government for not doing enough for the hostages, the same week that John Poindexter is on trial for allegedly doing too much for the hostages after 2 years of perennial recriminations about having tried to get the hostages out illegally. I mean, where does this woman come off? Doesn't she know what's going on?
Ed, you're making a very cogent point, a very good point. Tying in the irony of the Poindexter trial at the very same time that Peggy Say is carrying on like this. Very good point. Lord knows I've been very critical of the IRA.
Yeah, and the Kennedy.
Well, listen, don't blame the Irish for that bum family, the Kennedys.
Well, I'll tell you though, a lot of Irish tend to be liberal Democrats. I don't think you can deny that.
Well, there are a lot of conservative Democrats who are Irish now also.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't think of any.
Oh, there are plenty. They may not have the notoriety of the Kennedys or Daniel Patrick Moynihan, but there are plenty. I've known many of them.
All right. Well, I'd just like to be interested if any of you have any callers who want it.
What are they supposed to say? What are they supposed to say, Ed? If I were a self-respecting Irishman, I wouldn't feel that I owed you any explanation over anything. I would say that Gabon is obviously a bigot. You know what, Ed? I don't like you. Get off my phone. Sheldon, hello.
I want to talk about the illegal Irish people who are in this country right now who can't get green cards.
And you know why they're illegal? Because the Department of Immigration and Naturalization has allowed them only 326 legal entry visas every year.
Well, that's a shame.
The island of Jamaica gets 19,000, but Ireland gets only 326.
That's right. That's a shame. And,
What they should be doing is getting a hold of Teddy Kennedy, that big drunken bum, and say, listen, your brother introduced legislation that was passed in 1965 that gave Ireland only 326 people every year. And as a matter of fact, I'll tell you this, 16% of the total number of legal immigrants come from Europe. The rest come from Africa, Asia, and South America. How does that grab you?
Makes me sick, but I see that every day.
Uh-huh.
In culture, it seems like they're embarrassed of that, and they want to steal the Western inventions and culture.
That's true. But when you stop and think about what the culture represents, and this is not to demean it, there is very little, if anything, that relates to what we know in the Western world. This is why they have gutted the Western Studies program at Stanford University. This is why they want to fictionalize history. And what amazes me is that they are getting away with it. There's nobody that stands up to them.
It's a shame.
See, you're like a lot of other parents. You don't want to get your son or your daughter involved in any acrimony, so you keep quiet. And meanwhile, these myths, these lies, these falsehoods, this totally fictionalized history becomes more and more prevalent. And I guarantee you, by the end of this century, let's say your son will be 17.
Right. The year 2000 he should graduate.
By the year 2000, it will be amazing if he doesn't go to a dermatologist and say, please, make me black. You think I'm joking? You think I'm joking?
I hope he doesn't get that like that, Bob.
I wish I were. Thank you for the call.
I would like to talk about the, quote, AIDS epidemic, and just to say how ludicrous this is. Researchers today at UCLA, published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, predicted that the AIDS epidemic will peak at about 200,000 and is going down, and immediately was attacked as flawed. All kinds of attacks are being made on it. One thing I can tell you, the Oprah Winfreys of this world, that it is never going to be a heterosexual disease, and never, ever are 1 in 5 Americans going to be at risk. And, the whole thing here is that the inmates, in the case of AIDS, are running the asylum. The joke is on us. The perfect example here is the scare tactics, the militarism have gotten the Americans to spend billions of dollars on research, and not $1 being requested to go into their behavior modification. Explain to me possibly how, if a vaccine is developed what will happen once you know you could take this vaccine in the morning, you could go and shoot dope, you could go and do any kind of homosexual act and not fear AIDS. It's going to be the bathhouses again and again and again, and they are going to win.
You're right on target, Joe. Right on target. I like your line about allowing the inmates to run the asylum, because that's exactly what's been happening. I see these spokespersons from the homosexual community with incredible arrogance, but I can understand their arrogance. What I can't understand is how they will debate people who are ostensibly normal, who are ostensibly straight, who are ostensibly from the mainstream, and those people they're debating grovel. Even Mike Royko, whom I regard as a mensch, was hard put to really let some homosexual really have it on the Larry King show a couple of weeks ago. The other night on Nightline, there was Monsignor Stephen Blair of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles debating Martin Delaney, a homosexual. And Delaney was arrogant. He showed complete, total hubris, complete contempt for everybody and everything that wasn't homosexual. And this Monsignor groveled before him.
Well, it's the exact thing that they have gotten legitimacy because of this disease. They expect everyone to empathize with whatever they have, and you have people who have gotten, the poor Michael Glazer's wife is dying of AIDS. Her 2 children are dying of AIDS because of tainted blood. She did nothing except get blood that was donated by a IV drug user or a homosexual who you couldn't trace where he was, what he did. He sold his blood, and he's killing this woman. And we are supposed to have sympathy for the others. Forget about the sympathy for the innocent victims.
To giving a day in honor of some guy, there's a big difference. I didn't know. Now you're comparing Martin Luther King with God, but then again, maybe you are.
Well, tell me this then. What really, seriously, why do you have such a pathological hatred for...
Not pathological at all. It's just that I refuse to march in lockstep with everybody else and pretend that he deserves a day. The guy doesn't deserve a day. Had he lived, had James Earl Ray not murdered him, I think he would have gone on to expose himself as the fraud, phony, fake jerk that he was.
What a Guido you are. Goodbye, Guido.
On WABC, I guess he really told me I'm a Guido. I guess that's supposed to be a racial epithet. Frank.
Yeah, hi, Barry. Bob.
What is this Barry crap?
I don't know, Bob. I guess there's so many of them around.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Bob, they had a recent poll on how well David Dinkins was doing during his first few months in office, and I'd like to express my personal opinion on how well he's doing. So far he's talked about cutting services and raising taxes. That's all he's talked about, typical for a liberal Democrat. On a couple of occasions when he should have supported the police, he sounded like he was more upset that the monsters were shot, undoubtedly because the perpetrators were both black. He said that he hasn't said a doggone thing, rather, about those racist, anarchist, jealous thugs in Brooklyn who are harassing those hard-working Koreans, trying to put them out of business because they show that hard work is the answer. And again, he showed his one-sidedness in the Andy Rooney case, when practically the entire nation was for Andy Rooney, and he went the other way. Now, Bob, this man tries to project this calm demeanor, but I'll bet when he's with his, quote, blood, he's probably a real street mentality. And your doubts the other day that you had, after that, you read that article in the Post about how David Dinkins is really for everyone. I agree with those. I'm right there with you. I have my doubts about this man being for all the people also.
You're so banal. Get off my phone. You're not even worth calling a creep.
About the drug problem in the country. They can turn
you're talking about the user. I mean the seller should be shot.
That's right.
Seller should be executed. What? First time out. You laugh. Why do people laugh when you say something that has any meaning?
Well,
the seller should be executed on his first shot. And you want to know something? The drug problem would disappear so fast, we'd be bored. We wouldn't have anything to talk about.
okay, we're going to put the sellers aside right now and talk about the users. Is that okay?
I don't care, Debbie. Do whatever you want. Is that okay?
Don't you?
He did not answer the question. You know, I get so tired of the same conversation. I'm going to try to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to somebody, a hypnotist, and have him give me a hypnotic suggestion. You are just beginning in talk radio. You have never done talk radio shows, taking telephone calls before. This is all new to you. So this way I can be like the others, you know, and pretend like, oh, gee, that's a heck of an idea. So I can have some enthusiasm for cliches, especially my own. This is Bill Button.
CBS News is back in far, far before the Swan Bullion came up. When they were doing features, they were giving Sharpton lots of credit.
By the way, speaking of Sharpie Sharpton, that fat slob is, I believe, his trial began today.
Well, that'll be another Ringling Brothers event. It'll be totally...
His fraud trial.
And how much money are the taxpayers going to waste?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there's already one postponement, but it was scheduled to begin today. Listen,
we have to raise taxes because Washington didn't. In other words, he's not worried about the tax-paying drones who have to dig deeper into their pockets. He's more worried about who's going to take the blame for all this. And Bob, you don't ever have to worry about your now famous philosophy, live worse for more, ever being outdated in this tri-state area. And by the way, Bob, you know, there's a new disclaimer that WABC is running about your opinions being your own and not WABC's. You should be proud of that because it means that you're the only one that's really telling it like it is. Thank you.
all right, there was something I wanted to say to you a moment ago about Il Supremo. I feel somewhat gratified that some people, like you, are able to see through this charlatan. But what is disturbing is that there are so few people who can see through him. It reminds me of something that Voltaire said. It was, he who really is able to confuse the people will prevail. Now, that's Cuomo. He is confusing people like there's no tomorrow. But when he announces that he is going to run for president, he will use as his excuse the fact that the only way to really save New York is to go to Washington. He's going to say, I tried it in Albany, it didn't work. Some people might remind him, though, that he succeeded a governor of the same party, a two-term governor, Hugh Carey. And I never thought I'd live to see the day that anybody would make Hugh Carey look good, but by comparison with Il Supremo, Carey looks great. Thank you. Well, Il Supremo is what you said he was, a slippery eel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Inclusion program that's going on, and you try to discredit it. But
I don't have to discredit it. It's discredited in and of itself.
It's not discrediting itself.
Oh, really? By the way, where are you from? You seem to have trouble with the English language. What is your native language?
I'm a Brooklynite.
Oh, you're a Brooklynite? Are you chewing something right now?
No, I'm not chewing anything. I just have a very deep voice.
No, it isn't the depth of your voice I'm talking
then
about.
What's the problem that you have with my voice?
It's the inability.
Why is it that when someone tries
the inability you have to articulate.
To articulate what?
To articulate whatever it is you're trying to say. You sound as though you have. You wear dentures?
I don't wear dentures. I have all my teeth, such as you don't.
Well, what is so loose in your mouth there that? What is getting in your way?
Well, if anything, it possibly, maybe I don't feel it, but maybe there's a little nervousness in my voice. That's what you hear.
Well, no, I think it's something else. But
well, nonetheless, Mr. Steve Allen gave you a different idea.
Did you read Steve Allen's book? Did you read Steve Allen's book?
No, I know of Steve Allen.
You know of him. Did you read his book?
I read parts of his book. Yes.
Yeah? Where did you read parts of his book?
Yes, sir. In reference to the idea of...
Where did you read parts of his book?
In reference to the specific idea...
I caught you in a lie. You didn't read parts of his book, you phony. Get off my phone. I read parts of his book. Emmanuel tried a trick, and the trick is keep talking, and maybe you won't have to answer the question that's embarrassing you. I read parts of his book. All of a sudden, he read parts of his book. Rich, you...
Want me to shine your shoes?
Well, what do you mean by elevator operator? We have automatic elevators. We don't have elevator operators.
Operator, Mr. Grant, okay?
We don't have operators. We have automatic elevators.
Idiot, let me tell you something. I work there, right? I'm a freight operator, right?
Why do you keep saying all right? If you say so, okay. Why do you keep saying all right? Why do you keep saying okay, all right, okay, all right?
Idiot, if you feel that...
Next thing you know, you're going to... Huh?
Let me tell you something, all right? You got a problem with me?
He said with you, all right.
Want me to shine your shoes?
No, I don't want you to... I don't want you to shine my shoes.
I'm 6'6", 260 pounds. All you got to do is...
What are you applying for a job? Why are you giving me your dimensions?
Well, let me tell you something, pal. Let me tell you something. And I ain't got nothing in my mouth either. All right? You got a
to match what you have in your head, right?
People?
Huh?
You got a problem with black people? You don't like the way they talk? That's just too bad, all right? That's too bad.
Why are you hollering?
Hey, you want to know where I'm from?
No.
Huh?
No. I know where you're from. I know where you're from.
Too close to home, right? I'm too close to home.
What does that mean? Oh, stop it. Stop it. Cut it. Don't get carried away.
You idiot. You
idiot. Yeah, what else, pal? What else? Really? And with that, he hung up. He must have got scared. He hung up. He said, Magoo, and hung up. How do you like that? What a phony. Phony, fake, fraud. I know you ran back to your radio, you little coward, to listen. You're not even worth continuing to talk about. Jerk. Mark.
And I know that people can... Yes.
Well, are you a homosexual, Nick?
No, absolutely not.
Why do you sound like one, then?
I just think that, if people are going to have relationships, it should be based a lot more on, whether their genitals are of one type or the other, especially...
I think you're putting me on, Nick. I think this is a fake, a phony, a fraud call.
No,
You're getting your enjoys. You're probably playing with yourself while you're...
Absolutely not.
While you're talking on the telephone.
Woman.
You're probably getting off on this call. You're not going to do it on this program. Do it on somebody else's program. Get off my phone, you pervert! If I start thinking about all the idiotic moves that management makes, I'll never introduce Leon Aron, a Salvatore Fellow in Soviet Studies at the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C. Oh, and that's Georgy Arbatov. And I couldn't believe that he made those statements.
Well, Bob, I couldn't believe it either. We went to the so-called Foreign Broadcast Information Service, which tapes all Soviet communications, was taken off live TV. I have a text of it. And to me, it was, and I commend you for that because you're probably, you have a good Sovietological sense, no doubt, or rather criminological sense, because apart from what he said, and it was an all-out attack on the Soviet military state. It bled the country dry, that's the quote. We spend more on the military than any other country. We are the largest arms supplier in the world, and so on and so forth. But beyond that, what was on his little mind? This is the paid propagandist. You recall, in Brezhnev years, a permanent guest on ABC, CBS, NBC, their favorite guest, to give them justification for everything the Soviets did. Invading Afghanistan, shooting down the Korean airliner, imposing martial law in Poland. Everything was justified. All of a sudden, the man turns it around. Well, it's one of the miracles of glasnost.
My own theory is that he's a stooge for Gorbachev. Gorbachev just has him out there saying those things.
That could very well be.
Because as annoyed as you are with Arbatov, I'm annoyed with a weasel by the name of Vladimir Posner.
Oh yes. I share that. I think if Arbatov sort of I sort of detest him in my head. There are it's in my stomach that's churning when I think of Posner. But here's a surprise for you, Bob. Vladimir Posner is now one of the most popular Soviet TV personalities because of how radical he is in support of glasnost and perestroika.
Now, all of a sudden. He who defended every move.
In fact, he was on TV with Ted Koppel after they shut down the Korean airline.
Right.
Got 230 whatever people killed.
He has had his stooges in the American media, like Donahue, for example.
Absolutely, yeah. They had the love-in with Donahue.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But by his demeanor, by his conduct, Vladimir Posner seems more a good capitalist, really.
Well, you know
likes
his history. Do you know his history?
He was born here.
He was born here.
Yeah.
His father was a communist
Yeah.
who emigrated from the United States. He was a Russian-born communist via France. Now, you tell me what kind of person you have to be in order to immigrate from the United States to the Soviet Union in 1948. I mean, you either have to be a paid spy or you have to be a total loony. And I think, the son probably has a great deal of this great legacy.
Carry your...
I'm telling the people of New Jersey, get off your rusty dusties, make your positive views known opposing the increase in the New Jersey taxes, because Jim, Florio, and them, they're going to do it to us, and we don't. We got to pressure them, pressure the Senate, the Assembly. They're going to be voted out of office.
Well, and Jimmy Florio.
Yes, Bob.
Jimmy Florio is the best thing that's happened to Il Supremo in Albany in a long time. I'll tell you why I say that.
Please do.
Because, as Chuck Hardwick points out, the changes Jimmy Florio is making will change the image of New Jersey being a good place to do business in. And as you know, a lot of businesses moved from New York to New Jersey.
Absolutely.
Now they won't be doing that. Chuck Hardwick points out that instead of people coming into New Jersey, they'll be going out of New Jersey.
That's right. It's our last chance to protect our standard of living here, Bob.
Yeah. So Florio is a stooge for Il Supremo.
Absolutely.
Because the tide, the migrants leaving from New York to go to New Jersey will be stanched, and Il Supremo will say, see, people aren't moving out anymore like they used to.
Right. That's tragic. It's very ironic.
Hey, tui cornude. Yeah.
Both of them, Bob. I agree.
Tui miserable.
Absolutely. Marios on top of that, too.
Absolutely, Marios. What else?
Well, I guess spacim.
Spacim, proprio spacim.
Spacim is disgraziare.
Do they qualify as...
That means shameless.
Do they qualify as Ashangad, Al?
Absolutely. They're perfect examples of Ashangad. They're both of them. Both of them. Absolutely. They're the ghosts of that.
Yeah.
They must look at their picture, his picture, every day.
I think of my grandpa. He called everybody a puzzolano. Everybody was a puzzolano.
Bless your grandfather. That was Grandpa Chiro, wasn't it?
Chiro, yeah.
God bless
him. He's the guy that made me think my name was Uffa.
Oh, yeah, Uffa.
And I said, hello, Grandpa. He said, Uffa. All right, Al. Hey,
what
take
pleasant memories, Bob.
Yep. Those were the days, Al.
You bet, Bob.
Thanks for the call.
You bet, Bob. Bye.
You received what?
I received gift certificates from you, sir.
From me?
From you.
I didn't send any gift certificates.
Sure you did. I received them. I told you, I had a question about, I told you I went to Australia, and you told me I came clean on the air, and I received some gift certificates from you.
All right, then I guess somebody from the station sent them and signed my name. What do you laugh for? What do you want me to say? That I personally sent them? You want me to be a fake, a phony, a fraud like so many other people?
Well, you called me on the air that day. I just thought I'd, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Slabs the lid. Hot takes for today. Fill the bar, Bob, grab everybody. Your influence counts. Get Castro!
Sometimes I don't like you at all.
How do you feel about me this very moment?
Well, it depends. If you start getting real nasty to me, I probably hate you.
Well, what you call being nasty is when I disagree with you.
No, because you call me names sometimes.
Well, you're the one who called and said you were going to sit on me and smash me. You said You said, I weigh over 300 pounds, I'm going to sit on you and make you like a pancake. You told me that. That wasn't nice.
I think because you said something that wasn't nice to me. But I don't want to get into that now because that's I just want to say also when I heard you talk about your tooth one time. You had a bad toothache, and you know, you think that the whole public is interested in you only. Sometimes we call up to find out what's going on with the program. And you talked about your tooth the whole time. Now, what if I had a problem, a physical problem? I don't talk about my hemorrhoids or something I got. You wouldn't want to hear that whole conversation on the telephone. I don't know why you think you're only interested in yourself sometimes, and I think that's wrong. But I'm going to tell you something. I wanted to tell you, I heard the other day somebody called about Tawana Burley. They said they kept all the money for Al Sharpton and they didn't do nothing. And you said that nobody did nothing and they kept all that money.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's something you don't know. I don't know if you knew this. She bought herself a little house in Virginia to get away from everybody.
She bought herself a little house.
She bought a
Little all teenagers buy themselves little houses to get away from everybody.
Virginia. She bought herself...
Why didn't she buy one in Namibia? That would be more to my life. Yeah, I know, but it should be Namibia. The whole clan ought to go to Namibia, except they wouldn't want them in Namibia.
But I'll tell you, I don't think Mr. Sharpton's going to get a fair trial now, because I've been following that, because they have it against him so much for what he did. They think he did something bad because he tried to defend him.
And as far as you're concerned, Al Sharpton could do no wrong.
I think he's a wonderful man.
Well, maybe you like his naturally wavy hair. Why does he use the straightener? Why do you suppose he uses a straightener on it?
Now, that may be natural. I don't know nothing about that. I know...
Why, you don't think that's his natural texture, do you?
Well, maybe it is. How do you know it ain't?
Well, I have a pretty good hunch it isn't. It isn't really natural because I know he buys all this, what they call relaxer.
Yeah, white maid, but you never want to hear that.
Really? Put her on.
I don't got it now.
I see. Thank you, Clara. I don't got her now. Oh, ABC. Hello. Hello, Bill. Bill of Anomaly Bill.
What you do? Because I feel...
Today he was a slave, or even the son of a slave. Maybe the grandson, maybe, but not the son. Come on. Let's cut this out. What do you think this is, the Donahue show, where I'm going to just sit here and listen to that garbage? It's 16 before 7. So, brain lobes. You need a lobe job, Eddie.
Well, Bob, you know, these Walkman are great.
I wonder who gives lobe jobs. Pick up a copy of the latest magazine and find out where you get a lobe job. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you know, but seriously, the Walkman, I just got one recently, and, you know, I can listen to you all over. In fact, you know, they're so great I can even make love and listen to you at the same time.
Wait a minute, Eddie. This is a vestige of your personality I never knew of before. I thought you were just on a dialysis machine.
Well, when I'm off the dialysis machine, I do other things. If I'm not too debilitated from the bad treatment that I get over there at Booth. But Bob, you know...
It works. Everything works, Eddie? When you're not on a dialysis, everything works?
Bob, but, you know, it's great, the Walkman, but there's one problem. My partner gets upset when I stop to call you. But listen, what I wanted to say, you know, I have a more conservative poem for you.
Good.
And it's for you and your listeners to celebrate spring, but I retain copyright. Okay, Bob? Would you like to hear it?
This is the great Eddie Carbone, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to name the West Wing of Booth Memorial Hospital after him someday. I know it. Go ahead, Eddie.
Walking through sun and green, I need not of gold and emerald dream. Long as the sun sets in western sky, I require not the red of rubies for my eye. And looking up in clear night, I see my diamonds sparkling bright. I need not the poor riches of man. What I have is far more grand. And Bob, maybe someday I'll put my poems together, publish a book, and use some of the money to help the suffering people who are not receiving proper treatment in our healthcare system. Because we really have a problem, Bob, and it's no joke. And I agree with the lady who called before. No one is above the law. And Bob, not even weasels in white, thieves, liars, and murderers in our healthcare system. Have a good weekend, Bob.
It'll be good because I talked to you, Eddie.
Thank you.
Eddie of Booth Memorial Hospital fame. He gets his dialysis treatments there, though, but when he comes in there, they have to be on the best behavior. Hello, Linda. He says a selective memory.
Bob, he did not condemn Israel. He condemned the administration that is doing certain human rights violation like he did with everybody else in the world. He wants the combatants to sit down and talk and stop killing each other. This is truly a decent man.
On WABC, there goes Biff, a very naive jerk, but...
Well, there's another thing.
How come? When is Arnold from the Bronx going to call in? I like that guy.
I have no idea. He doesn't send me his schedule any more than you do.
He's the only one with a little intelligence on that show. I hope he calls up real soon. If you're listening, Arnold, please call up and straighten this little buzzard out.
Now I'm a little buzzard. First I'm a weasel, then I'm a buzzard.
You're not a bad guy. I mean, you're not really you're a good person, but once in a while you go off the deep end. I mean, Jesus.
Once in a while I go off the deep end?
Yeah, once in a while. You start off nice on a Monday. This is your whole itinerary. Monday morning, you start off like a little attacking the public. And you start off. Then you go berserk. By a quarter to 7, you're psycho. It's scary. Everybody's afraid to call up because they know death is on its way. Tuesday, you start to tamper off. But by come Friday, then you're psycho again. There's no pattern with you.
Well, watch when I go to a 3-hour format. I'll be much nicer.
Well, somebody's got to do something. I got to make a call to get, because you're too nuts. 4 hours, you start going psycho. You're not calmed down. You're getting crazy. But when you do the 3 hours, you're more relaxed.
That's right. That's why I'm going to begin a 3-hour format April 9th and stay on it forever. Never again go to 4 hours. Without being direct, you wanted to be cutesy.
No, well, I wanted to point out a few simple facts so that everybody could realize that the tax money's being
Well, you go ahead and get back to your grass.
Well, you just got to realize normal people can control themselves.
My foot. Well, hey, look, wait a minute. Why take it anyway?
Well,
forgetting about whether it's legal, illegal, decriminalized.
Have you ever tried it?
No, absolutely not. And tell me why you do it.
Well, I tried it early on, which was a mistake probably, but over the years, I'm a professional, and...
Professional what?
I'm a professional. I don't want people to recognize what I do.
Oh, forget about it. You don't want people to recognize. If you say whatever you're a professional at, everybody will know.
I make about $50,000.
Everybody will go, oh, I know who he is.
Well, they might.
Yeah, you see, guys like you make me laugh, because when you call and you talk about pot,
well,
you make such fools of yourself.
Well, I don't want to jeopardize any position that I have right now.
Well, you don't have anything to jeopardize. If you're a pot smoker, you have nothing.
No, that's an old myth.
Yeah, that's an old myth.
Now, just listen. Because
you tried it, he says. And then you said you did it when you were young. You tried it when you were young. I probably shouldn't have, you said. I probably shouldn't have,
because a lot of my friends went kind of crazy after that. And
really?
Yeah.
Here's a guy trying to sell us on the idea of smoking pot, and then he's saying a lot of his friends who did went kind of crazy after that.
Right, because it was the look.
You know, with friends like you, pot doesn't need any enemies.
Well, my point is, think about it. It was illegal back then, and I couldn't get booze. I couldn't get alcohol. We couldn't get anything from the liquor store. But you know what?
Why do you want booze? Why do you want booze? Why do you want pot? Why do you want something that's going to blow your mind? Why?
Well, I don't go crazy.
Is reality so horrible you can't stand it? Hey, Pat, you're going to be dead soon, whether you're young or old.
You eat red meat? Why do you eat? Do you eat red meat?
What has that got to do with it? I happen not to because I don't like it, not because I think it's bad. I just don't care for red meat.
People do that. It's not good.
You jerk, get off my phone. I can't stand even the voice propinquity with you. You dummy. He says, people might recognize me. I'm a professional man. You jerk! We're taking phone calls. Now, whether I'm hollering at somebody or whether I'm agreeing with somebody, whether I'm angry, whether I'm happy, don't be intimidated. I don't understand why you people are such gagazotes. But I'm finding out that people are afraid to call me because they're afraid I'll holler at them. It won't hurt. It won't break a bone. It won't cause a bruise. You won't get a cut. You won't get a scratch. Why are you so putrid? Why? Why are you so putrid, afraid I'm going to holler at you? Think about it while we listen to this. Do you believe that?
Well, there's some kind of a force there, you know?
I did. Now, wait. I'm not talking about a force that keeps the universe. I'm not sure, but I'm saying here you're talking about me. But first of all, St. Peter wouldn't even, if there were a St. Peter, and there isn't, he wouldn't even know who the heck I was. He doesn't listen to this program. He's listening to WPAT. He likes relaxing music. He doesn't like hollering.
Well, I mean, why don't you be on the safe
side? He does listen to Howard Stern, though, in the morning, though. He's been known to listen to Stern in the morning.
Be safe. And do something worthwhile with your life.
Cut it out. What would be... Wait a minute. Stop. What would be worthwhile? What do you think I could do that would be worthwhile?
I don't know, but
you don't know.
You're talking to people on the radio here. I mean, you know, that's like there's only one thing worse than that, and that's being a proctologist.
I don't know. Oh, that is something. You know how a guy studies medicine and becomes a proctologist. That's beyond me. That. Oh, please. Oh my God.
Did you ever write a book? At least write a book about your experiences.
You know something about proctology?
No, what?
Seriously. I knew Dr. Caesar Portis, who was the president of the American Proctological Association.
Yeah?
You know what his nickname was? And I'm not making this up.
No, is it clean?
The Rear Admiral.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they really called him the Rear Admiral. And then I remember one time I was having some difficulty, and someone had recommended a proctologist. This was a long time ago. And I went to this office, and I found out it was a woman. I went right out of there. No way was I going to submit to that.
Uh-huh. Well, I thought it might be a little bit of fun. A woman.
You know, you gotta have a sick mind, a little fun. You gotta have a sick mind.
No,
You sure you're not a switch hitter, pal?
It depends what kind of music she was playing.
I beg your pardon, what kind of music?
Yeah, she had on in the waiting room.
Uh-huh. You know what I think you are? I think
maybe if she has a little cha-cha on or something like that, I could go for it.
I can't believe what I'm hearing.
Why not?
I mean, here's a guy.
Have you ever tried it?
Would you get off with a proctologist doing that to you?
I've never had it done to me.
I think you'd like it. Male or female, you'd probably like it.
Maybe, you know.
I know.
You might be onto something good, you know.
I know of a
Don't knock it until you tried it, Bob.
I know.
Keep an open mind.
So, but you think I'm wasting my life sitting here in a 6x8 studio? It's not 6x8.
Well.
It's 10 by 13. So there. No, 10 by 14. So there. Well, you know, sooner or later, probably later, people are going to get wise to Mr. Sleaze, better known as Il Supremo, better known as his arrogance, better known as his eminence, better known as Mario the Magnificent. You know that he has secretly established a controversial so-called personal relationship with the Harry Walker Agency.
I read about that.
Yeah, did you?
I read about that in the paper.
How come people aren't up in arms? Ladies and gentlemen, the Walker Agency is one of the nation's leading speakers bureaus, which will bring Il Supremo over $20,000 a speech. Now, here he is, governor of the state of New York. That's what he's paid for. That's a job he has. That's why we give him the mansion up there in Albany. That's why he gets the airplanes and the limousines and all the other fringe benefits. And yet, he goes out of the state moonlighting. Last year he took in $134,000 from speaking engagements. He's going to earn even more outside income, a task made easier by continued speculation that he'll seek the presidency in 1992. How come we let him get away with it? How come?
Well, I tell you, he could never be president if he's going to base his reputation on the MTA Inspector General that he appointed.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
This guy just wants to talk about the MTA Inspector General. But Il Supremo, you arrogant oaf. You arrogant oaf. I know you're listening to the program. I know you are. Word has come back to me. And by the way, all you little pipsqueak snitchers out there who write letters telling him what I said about him, he doesn't need you to write. He knows. Don't you, baggy eyes? Philip, you're at ABC. Hello.
Bob, how you tear apart.
I tell you, I'm just sick of Il Supremo getting away with murder. He's got everybody bamboozled.
You kill him. Well,
And one really leads to the other. For example, there are a lot of people with powerful singing voices, and yet when they talk, it's something like this. The guy will sing, then he's going to talk, and he goes, well, thank you very much, Mr. Grant. It was a pleasure to be here. You notice that? They've got these big, when they sing, it's like they got tre coglioni. And then when they talk, it's like they got a hat. Right? Yeah. How about Jim Neighbors? Of course, Jim is that way. But,
he's a lost cause.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that was the weirdest guy of all, that Jim Neighbors. George, could I sing this song for you, George? Or do you want me to kiss you, George? Where, Sorge? Come here, Sorge. Pucker up, Sorge. What are you laughing for?
Didn't you hear the tone quality of his voice?
If you say so, I'm going to take your word for it because no, I didn't catch that. No.
I would bet my life it's the same guy, and he calls up and uses another voice from time to time too. But he's got a certain quality in his voice that I recognize because I've got a good ear for voices. I used to take voice lessons myself, and I would bet my life that that's Arnold. Next time he calls, ask him.
What name did he give just a little while ago? Phil?
I don't remember what he called himself, but I know that...
I think it was Philip he gave the name.
Yeah, he does that exaggerated black person from Harlem.
Uh-huh.
That's him.
Well, Laura, I'm inclined to think you're right.
Yes, I know I am.
Okay.
Next time Arnold calls, ask him.
All right, Laura.
Okay.
I like you, Laura.
I like you, too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
The Bronx, how dare
wait a minute. Let me hear you do Philip now.
Now, let me tell you something, you rascal. First of all, I'm not talking to you, Bob. I'm talking to that woman. Now,
she said you're the same guy as Philip, and you are violating, guess what, Arnold?
Listen to me now, Bobby.
Arnold, you are violating the once-a-week rule. I hate to do this, Arnold. I hate to do it because...
Bobby, listen, don't.
What's that?
Don't do it.
Don't do what?
Listen to me, Bobby. Listen, don't talk. I want to talk to that woman. I don't want you to say...
I'm going to make an exception to the once-a-week rule, ladies and gentlemen. This is the exception.
On Monday. Don't?
This is an exception.
Okay. Now, first of all, that woman, I want her to listen to this. How dare you accuse me of being someone else? If you have a problem being adjusted to your gynecologist, why you got to take it out of the whole world? That's a terrible thing. And I want to say another thing. A woman called up the other day. She says, my God, Bob Grant, you're the most intelligent person that I've ever heard in my life. You must be Jewish. Well, let me tell you something, you little Jewish mama. How dare you say that? What's the matter? You never seen Italian people that intelligent? What happened to Leonardo da Vinci? What about Verdi? What about Count Basie? What about these people? They're jealous because you're Italian and you're a genius, Bob. Don't let these people razzle-dazzle you because they're rascals. And you know it, Bobby boy. Now, I don't want to take up much of your time because I know you're going to Reo Diner, and I want to tell you something about Reo Diner. It's fantastic.
By the way, Arnold, I'm going to give you a chance to go public. Speaking of the Reo Diner, are you ready for this?
Go.
Okay. On April 20th, that's a Friday, April 20th, from 3 until 6, the Bob Grant program will broadcast live and direct from booth 14 in the Reo Diner.
My God, this is fantastic.
That's right.
This is unbelievable. I'm going to be there.
All right, Arnold.
What's that date?
It's April 20th. We're going to broadcast live and direct from the Reo Diner.
Arnold will be there.
Teddy Lakakis will cry on cue. Thank you very much. That slams the lid on things for today. Until tomorrow, this is Bob Grant reminding you, your influence counts. Use it. 7 o'clock. Get Castro. The Republicans make a great Democrat. I think you're a fake, a phony, a fraud, a liar, a deceiver. Get off my phone, you fake. It's 18 minutes now, past 5 o'clock. Oh, Monopoly, why don't you all drop dead? Okay, what's on your mind?
Please, and your callers bring in the Jewish people.
I asked you what I said that upsets you. Forget about the callers. Forget about them. I'm not my callers any more than I'm...
You encourage them,
Encourage
Bob.
them? What do you mean by encourage? Hey, Kathy, don't listen to this program anymore and get off my phone.
Yeah, out there they have these Mexican illegal aliens flying over the border there. And are causing a big problem. And what went on was that they would cause a crime to rise in that general area. And they would go back into the Catholic Church and that's sanctuary.
That's right.
And it's pretty upsetting because I have nothing against the church. I think they do good work, but I don't think...
Now, my foot, they do good work. They used to do good work. They're just nothing but troublemakers. They harbor criminals.
Right.
They want to bring down this government as we have known it.
Right. And
they're only interested in this vermin that slips across the border and is undermining our economy, undermining our social structure. And I think it's high time we did something to remove this so-called sanctuary status.
Yeah, I mean this was the nun down there in Nicaragua that hid arms in her backyard. She came back and she was a hero up here in Connecticut.
You want to call that bum a nun? Okay, call
I
her
don't know what she was, but she was nothing but a rabble-rabble.
That's right. Without a doubt. You're talking about this Casolo broad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I know.
It's pretty. You get. I don't know what you can do about it, but it just kind of burns you up.
Well, it should burn you up because it's helping to undermine this country to inevitably lead to its destruction.
Exactly.
For Honduras situation, I've been listening to you for more than 10 years, and I feel that your comments were really uncalled for. What if it had been the German soccer club in College Point, Queens? I mean, I think your information was incorrect and that your mother was Euro trash.
With that, she hung up. It's an interesting thing about a certain racial group. If they don't like something you said, they won't take you to task for it. They will try to demean your mother. And you know the group I mean, don't you? Very colorful group. Neil, hello on WABC with Bob Grant.
How you doing, Bob Grant? Big fan of yours from up here in Dutchess County. How's it going?
What's on your mind, Neil? Did you call to chat?
No, it's a real honor.
How's it going? How you doing? How's it going? What do you want me to do?
I know you don't like that.
Well, I don't think that's why you call, to find out how's it going. And when you say it, what do you mean by it?
A little nervous.
The program? You tell me. You're listening to the program.
I just want to know
about U.S. government auctions and the church.
David Dinkins went out there on Solidarity Sunday with all those Jews, and
well,
he's a sick person. He's a sick. But we don't.
Well, he's the mayor of New York, and as the mayor of New York, he felt that it was his place to be there because those were, most of them, or a good portion of them, were citizens of New York City.
Adam Abdul Hakim is a citizen of New York, and Mayor Dinkins hasn't spoken about what is happening to him. He should be right out there with Adam Abdul Hakim or Reverend Al Sharpton. David Dinkins is a fool. I mean, we don't want him in the black community. Y'all can keep him in the white community.
Well, I think you say y'all can keep him in the white community. I don't know what that means, but...
Y'all can take him. Y'all can keep him.
Maybe you don't like David Dinkins because he obviously has a good shot of white blood in him.
He's
got a shot of white. Take a look at those eyes. Take a look at his features.
I know one thing. He got a shot of wanting to be Jewish. If anything, he always...
he looks good in a yarmulke, though. I got to admit. For a Afro-American, he looks very good in a yarmulke. Now, some non-Jews don't look good in a yarmulke. Jimmy Carter looked absolutely ridiculous in a yarmulke. As a matter of fact, I had the dubious honor of introducing him in Queens, back in 1975, I think it was. Yes, as a matter of fact, March 9th, 1975. I introduced him, and he said, I want you to know I'm in your church this morning because... And all these Jewish people were looking at each other. Church? He thinks this is a church. What's the matter with that guy? Okay. All right, on WABC, home of the Cajones. John, hello.
I mean, I just wanted to know your comment about, every New York tabloid having Brent Musburger on the front cover. I mean, you got tanks going to Lithuania. You got El Supremo with a raised budget. And, Brent Musburger taking the front page.
Well, this shows you what tabloids are all about, what rags tabloids have become. Maybe they were always rags. I recall last week there was a headline that said, Richard Pryor stricken. The guy coughed in Australia, he's stricken. That rates a headline. Even if he croaked, that wouldn't rate a headline. Right? He's not all that exciting, but he writes so well. You know what?
I said that sarcastic.
Oh, you said that sarcastic. Like this fellow Paul Duke, I had him on, and undertakers were calling, demanding equal time. There are a lot of guests lately that have been bombing like there's no tomorrow. Have you noticed?
I noticed that.
Yeah.
But you're going to get calls about that, I'm sure, right now.
I'm going to get calls about that? Who cares?
After talking about the broads in the airplane.
The broads in the airplane, the helicopter.
Yeah, I mean, that's a useless segment, quite frankly, Bob. You can never understand what the hell they're saying in the car.
You want to know? Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like this. We got on the two. Listen, thank you for the call, Mike.
Bye. When David Dinkins first got into office, he made a speech. He says, my people came over in chains, and how proud he was being African American. And for you to say about some shop white blood,
Well, he does.
if you
Take a look at. Hey, look. Take a look at him.
if you said that in his presence, he'd punch you right in your face.
Really? Is he a bigot? Is he a racist?
Sir.
You mean he hates whites?
The man never mentioned any European blood.
Well, look. I don't care whether he mentioned. I'm going to ask you, presuming that you're calling in good faith, does he look like he is pure 100% African?
Sir, that man would be
Does he look? I'm asking you what he looks like to you.
the black race produced.
I'm asking you. I'll give you one more chance.
A couple of generations ago.
I'm asking you if David Dinkins looks like he's 100% African.
His grandparents might have been raised by a white man. It could be.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know either. All I know is what David Dinkins looks like. And the guy was complimented.
You insulted that man.
Oh,
mutations. You're saying he's a mutation.
Listen, you know something?
He belongs to a group of mutations.
You know something? You're trying to tell us that David Dinkins is a racist. And I don't
that.
think David Dinkins is a racist.
I am a light-skinned...
You're a racist.
I'm a light-skinned black man.
Well, then
if you were to tell me that I had white blood, I'd punch you right in your face.
Yeah? Well, you do have some white blood, I'm sorry to say. Well, now get on my phone, you creep, you jerk, you skunk. Richard, hello.
Hello, Bob. Long time.
Wait a minute, hold it. It's interruption time. Oof, I'm unmarvelly. That slams lid on things for today. Tomorrow, George. Until then, this is Bob Grant reminding you your influence counts. Use it. It's 7 o'clock. Get Castro, that skunk.
He's saying that we are not achieving. We don't have any brains.
Well, I'm not saying it. Statistics are saying it. The demographic facts of life are saying it.
I want to challenge you.
Well, then challenge the statistics.
I want to challenge you.
Oh, don't be so absurd. Don't be so childish.
I want to challenge you.
What do you want, a foot race?
No, I want to challenge you mentally, physically, in every way.
In
Come
every
to my
way?
home, let me see your home. Let me see your background.
Well, you probably have a nicer home. What does that prove?
All that proves is
that you folks aren't deprived.
I'm not deprived.
Oh, well then...
We worked for what we got.
Okay, who's we?
All of us.
Who's all of us?
All of our family.
All of your family. Well, fine. Hey, look, you betray a real inferiority complex.
I'm not inferior.
I didn't say that.
Superior.
See, you're not even listening.
I'm superior.
Hey, you're not. Oh, really? Get off my phone. I don't need these windows washed here, you jerk. What a fake phony. Charlie, hello. George on WABC.
Yes, you told that woman you didn't want your windows washed. That was very insulting. So let me ask you a question, sir. Why do you deny and ashamed to admit that your mother is a Jew? Now, come on, answer. Why?
If she's Jewish, how would you know?
I know. Why don't you just answer?
Well, wait a minute. You are the one with the news. Tell the audience how you know that.
Why don't you just answer the question? No, answer a question with a question. Why are you afraid?
I'm not answering.
All these years I followed you, you're afraid to answer. I hate to say this because she's really a nice woman. Are you ashamed that she's a Jew? Explain it to us.
You low-life scumbag. You are really a lowlife.
Watch my windows, Bob.
You are really a lowlife. You are really a lowlife. George, I'm gonna have you... George.
Yes?
You know what? You know what your punishment is? For 5 minutes.
Look in the mirror.
For 5... That's right. He hung up. Oh, dear George. You're on WABC.
The Bronx. Now, listen. Now, Bob, let me tell you something. I love you. I love you. You remind me of one of the old guys from my old neighborhood in the Bronx.
Gee, do I sound that bad?
No. You sound fantastic. You're a stand-up, knock-around. You got guts. You got grit. You got a lot of backbone, spunk. You got moxie and everything else that's in the dictionary.
Wow.
And I'm proud of you. But you know why I called you Bob? I was talking to a friend of my Nicky boy. Now listen. Now this girl, McLean, she got fired because they had to make room for minorities. Now, Bob, this stinks, Bob. This is I think it's an outrage. I think it's a high insult. I think it's disgusting. It's annoying. It's ultra left-wing liberal, and you're right on the money, buddy. Buddy, let me tell you something. I think we got a triple standard here. I don't think it's a double. Now, Bob, what do you think about that?
A triple? What do you mean?
A triple standard. I don't think it's a double standard. I think this is bad. Now, something's got to be done about this. It's got to stop. Now, you know what she should do? I'll give that. You know, I just heard that girl talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what she should do? Why don't she call up the Eyewitness News? Channel 7 Eyewitness News, they might be able to help her. And make a fuss, make a stink, and make a big ballyhoo like these Mulignans do. And,
watch your language, please.
You know what I mean? Oh, well, I didn't say nothing, Bob. I'm just talking about, I'm talking about eggplant.
Tony, don't get too carried away.
Well, this is bad. Yeah, but Bob, this is bad. See, Bob, if this was your
I know it's bad, but two wrongs don't make a right.
Well, Bob, if this was your sister, if this was your wife or something, Bob, you would be up in arms.
Well, I am up in arms. It doesn't have to be a relative of mine. I just find it a little difficult to believe that part about the brother.
Well, I don't know. I didn't hear the whole thing because, you know, I'm in the
Up
street.
until she mentioned the brother, I believed her. But then she mentioned the brother. Tony, nice of you to call and audition once again.
No, I'm going to call you again. You're beautiful.
I'm sure you'll call me again, Tony. There's no way in the world I could avoid it. Thank you.
Say hello to Broadway.
Him? That bum?
Right.
What about these undesirables that are coming from these Bolshevik Jewish Russians that are coming over here? Most of them are communists. They're allowed to come in here by the tens of thousands, and there's only 300 Irish allowed, who are usually very patriotic. These Jews that are coming from Russia are not patriotic. Their first allegiance is to Israel.
Well, no, if their first allegiance were to Israel, Ed, then they would have gone to Israel.
Well, they can't get there.
Oh, yes.
Can't get
no,
there.
they can. That's the basis on which they were allowed to leave the Soviet Union. So, for your information, my anti-Semitic scumbag, that's the answer. Get off my phone, you skunk! It's 4:30, time for Joe Nolan. I got carried away. I think we got that, didn't we? We got it. Okay. You know, when you have as many people calling this program as we have, a lot of bilge gets through. A lot of bilge. I'm not a couple of 100 years old. Believe it or not, I didn't own any slaves. Believe it or not, I didn't import any slaves. And believe it or not, even you weren't a slave. Now, if you find this country so offensive, why don't you go back to the Dominican Republic, where you came from, where you belong, where you should go at once.
Well, this past weekend, I went to a Arnold Italian restaurant in Amityville, and I saw the pictures on the wall, and I saw your picture. You have the audacity to tell your audience that you don't wear a toupee?
I knew that you'd be talking about the toupee, Jerry, as you have that fixation on the toupee.
Not a fixation, Bob.
You have a fixation. First of all, you didn't go to Amados in Amityville.
I was in Amados.
Okay.
I was talking to the waiter.
Yeah, okay, I wear a toupee.
Very good.
All right.
I'm glad you admit it.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry.
Bye-bye.
All right. There's Jerry with the obsession about the toupee. Oh, Peter, you're on WABC. Hello.
It's so typical. It's so typical that people like you can point your righteous fingers at new immigrants whenever anything goes wrong, because they're always the easiest people to pick on. But let me remind you that the initial immigrants who came to this country always began from the bottom, okay? They went to ghettos, they worked...
Where are you from?
Well, what does it matter where I come from?
You sound as though you come from Ireland, do you?
No, I don't come from Ireland.
You sound as though you come from somewhere in the United Kingdom.
Bob, I'm black as the ace of spades.
Oh, really? Well, where do you come from? Why do you deny where you're from?
I come from Africa.
You do, my foot, you come from Africa. You're a big, phony, fake, jerk, skunk, louse, and off. But the more you listen to this program and the more I do it, the more I realize that there really is very little hope for this country. When you hear the vermin that call this program, remember, although they don't represent all the audience, they do represent some of the audience, and it's a very, it does not augur well for America, certainly.
Blame it on the system. He talks about principles. The worst move this country ever made was to have boys and girls together in school. This is one of the biggest problems. And the other thing is, they don't teach enough about Godzilla.
I didn't hear what he said. The idiot started laughing. And did you pick up what he said? Nobody picked up what he said. One of the AAA sickolas. That's another reason I'll be delighted to leave this 6 o'clock time spot, because usually the real AAA sickolas call between 6 and 7. Hopefully Bill is not a AAA sickola or even a AA. Hello, Bill. You got press release? I don't want a press release.
Well, then I'll tell you myself without a...
Good, that's it, good.
Okay, basically what happened was that we took over their offices, 10 people, and we had a hunger strike to demand that they did not form a government traitorous...
Oh, stop with a traitorous. How dare you call him traitorous?
He is a traitor.
You have no right to call Shimon Peres a traitor.
Power to Kahana.
I'm going to have a... See, you were... See, you're a phony.
You're a phony. Power to Kahana.
You jerk. What a jerk. He thinks he's... You know, this guy thinks he's carrying a placard in front of some joint. That pipsqueak. Guy's probably got a yellow streak down his back a mile wide. When he opened his news at 6:30 on the full network, shame to tell you it was my own network, not that I own it, and did the opening story about the Dolphins and talked about it as though it was the greatest thing since the Almighty decided to provide the earth with sunlight. That fishermen who have heretofore been able to catch the quantities of tuna that the American eating public wants and needs using these large nets will no longer be using these large nets in order to make sure that no dolphin loses its life. I don't dislike dolphins. Matter of fact, I'll be honest with you. I don't even think of dolphins. And I know that Flipper was a character created in a motion picture. And dolphins do not smile, contrary to what some catones think. They don't smile. But the idea that the American people are going to happily spend 2 to 3 cents more a can for tuna because Starkist has given in to the environmental freaks, the stormtroopers who masquerade as though they are trotting the high ground. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, that report on ABC News, the way he opened the report, I thought, oh, we're going to get some good news. He said, some news that everyone will like, he said. We start off with some good news for a change. It's not good news, it's bad news. Bad news that you, the American consumer, are going to have to spend more for tuna. And then someone said, well, it's worth it to save the dolphins. The dolphins worry about us. Anyway, what's this talk I hear in my earphone? Every now and then, I hear talk in my earphone. I know it's nobody here on the premises because they're all sitting enraptured. I also join anybody who has his head on straight in condemning the mutant savages in Teaneck who used the slaying of a suspect as an excuse to rob, loot, destroy, vandalize. By the way, the father of the late, unlamented by me anyway, Pennell, the father had just gotten out of jail, had just been released from jail, and he appears in all his majesty on television. At any rate, we're going to be talking to the mayor of Teaneck, and he'd probably fall all over himself telling us how great a town Teaneck is. It is a great town, but not because he's going to fall all over himself saying, oh, well, I'll let him speak for himself. Let's see, what else? What else? It's too bad they can't give John List the death penalty, but he committed his murders, his heinous crimes, before the death penalty was restored in the state of New Jersey. That's what all the newspapers tell you. There's another reason. Even if he had committed his heinous crimes after the death penalty was reinstituted, he still wouldn't have gotten the death penalty because they do not have the guts in Trenton to give anybody the death penalty. And if they did, that bleeding heart, Robert Willents, wouldn't allow it. So let's knock off the nonsense that that's the only reason John List is not given the death penalty. And all he's going to serve is about 14 years and 11 months if he doesn't croak beforehand, and hopefully he'll croak right now and save us some money. John List, if you're listening, croak!
Dolphins and tuna is that the evidence is that unlike tuna, dolphins have a high degree of thinking ability and can feel pain. And many people who've been in the water in accidents know that dolphins do care about humans and have tried to save them. They're probably closer to what you would consider human in the thinking process than a lot of retarded people. And although I would not like to kill any retarded people, I think the dolphins are more deserving of the kind of care and attention.
Oh, get off my phone. Get off my phone. You're a AAA caller. You probably...
You can't answer it,
You probably... No. There's nothing to answer. You didn't ask any question. It does not merit paying more money for tuna. It does not merit that.
But
I'm more concerned. I'm more
retarded human beings, right? Rather than dolphins.
I'm more concerned with people.
Why are you more concerned with them? Because they can think and care and feel pain, right?
Get off my phone, you vulgar creep. Brian, you're on WABC. Hello.
Because the reason it's dangerous is because that's exactly what happens. Everybody is caving in. They're caving in left and right to these. Now, what happened in Teaneck, New Jersey is a case study. I watched Jack Cafferty on Channel 5 that night, last night. No, the night before last, when this first happened. And, you know, Jack Cafferty is supposed to be somewhat of a moderate to a conservative. Well,
by foot he is. He's a bleeding heart liberal. What are you talking about?
Bleeding heart liberal that disgraced himself. Well, I had always suspected that, but I had met his co-anchor one night downtown, and she told me he was a conservative. So,
it all depends who his co-anchor was. If his co-anchor was Sue Simmons, then of course she would think he was a conservative.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody who's not a communist is a conservative, I suppose, anymore. Yes. Now, here's another little story. About 3 weeks ago, on page 22 or so of the Daily News, there was a little short story. They took a survey up on 110th Street and 5th Avenue, the neighborhood where the mutts that raped that woman in Central Park live, and they obtained 5,000 signatures in that neighborhood supporting the criminals.
Yeah.
Supporting them. Yeah. Now, one of the mothers of these criminals, when she was in court, she started to scream and disrupt the court proceedings. When the court officer came to eject her, she said, "Get away from me! I can't stand anything white near me," she said. This got one line in the back of another newspaper.
Now, can you imagine if it were say the mother of Joe Fama or Keith Mondello, one of the Bensonhurst dependents, saying just the reverse? Can you imagine how the media would have portrayed that?
I know exactly.
It would have been the lead story on network newscasts. When are these people going to wake up and realize that we have a pernicious racism coming from many members of the black community, and nobody challenges them?
Well, exactly. Bob, what?
Dolphin or a bird. You know, the fact that people like Greenpeace are helping to keep the water clean for people who go to the beach in New Jersey.
People from Greenpeace are lunatics.
Well, they can say that about you.
I'm saying it about Greenpeace. I don't care what they say about me. That's up to them to talk about me. I don't talk about me. I let others talk about me.
That's the problem. People don't care.
Well,
all they get to do is involve in controversy and ripping one another apart instead of working together. Tuna fish has got a lot of mercury in it. I hardly ever eat it.
Well, then don't eat tuna fish.
I hardly ever eat it.
Well, then fine, don't eat it then. What do you eat, you jerk?
Well, I eat salmon. I like salmon, and I like codfish. It's supposed to be cleaner.
You're the type of jerk that'll be calling in a couple of months saying there's something in salmon. Then you'll say there's something in codfish.
No, there's no end. You.
Hey, left-wing loonies like you, there's no end. There's no end.
I'm a conservative.
My foot, you are.
You don't know me.
Yeah, well, and I don't want to know you.
You stink worse than the fish.
WABC. It's three. Trying to tell me that because you suspect he might be wrong, it justifies the looting?
Oh, no. There's no justification in that whatsoever, because a lot of black stores in Teaneck there was also tore up.
But if there were only white stores, it'd be okay, huh?
No, that's not what I'm saying. Well,
why did you have to say, hey, you gave yourself away, Ernie?
I don't care.
You gave yourself away.
That crap,
your own
never
words.
mind that garbage. I'm saying...
Your own words. Isn't that interesting? This guy says, yeah, it was said there were a lot of black stores.
If he's wrong, he's wrong.
Yeah, the inference is if it were...
I said if it's anybody's store in there that was tore up, it's wrong. Well, what I did say was that those were some black stores that was tore up there also. So it's still wrong, whether it was black or white. That's not what I'm calling you. What I'm saying is to you is this.
You made a comeback there. Yeah. Do you have any words of wisdom here during this holiday season, El Supremo?
Well, my word of wisdom is a question. I come here, I'm always mad as I'm downstairs, I'm going crazy, I'm going to get that Bob Grant. The minute I get into the studio, ladies and gentlemen, this son of a gun, there's something about him I like.
It's not going to get you anywhere. I'm still going to oppose you.
I know that.
You know that I'm still going to oppose you because you're an ultra New Deal liberal jerk.
Well, I've got something innovative now, Bob.
What's that?
I'm going to change your opinion of me because on the Bob Grant program, though you detest me, I am going to give you a scoop. Attention, everyone in the Bob Grant listening audience. All right. I am going to announce how I will ensure world peace when, over Bob's objections, I am elected president of the United States.
You are definitely going to run.
I am not going to run. I'm going to win.
Well, you have to run before you can win.
But I am going, not the way I've got it planned.
You know,
we're going to make some changes, Bob.
I've called you arrogant. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
I've called you a bully. How do you plead?
Guilty.
Oh, you do admit that you're a bully?
Yeah, if a guy is smaller than me, I'll kick him around. If a guy makes a lot of noise and he's got an angry mob behind him, I'll fold like a box of phony 50s or whatever it is.
How do you feel about the
cheap
fact...
camera?
How do you feel...
I reside currently in Queens and Albany. I have dual citizenship.
No, I mean, you were born and raised in Queens.
Yes, I was. And let me tell you, I looked from the top of my father's grocery at the view of Manhattan. And I said, someday, I will something.
All right, El Supremo, you see this book I'm holding in my hand? Called Umbada. It's a story
Is he from Yonkers?
No, it's the no, not a Umbada from Yonkers. By the way, whatever happened to Umbada?
I don't know. He don't see me. He doesn't talk to me anymore either.
Well, anyway...
The Gumbada from Yonkers.
No, you know what happened to Gumbada from Yonkers?
He's worse than I am.
No, he became Shkumbari. He became embarrassed. He became embarrassed because he doesn't shave anymore. I think he needs a couple of false teeth. I think so.
Well, let me tell you something.
But you know,
he wishes he were here with me right now with you.
You know what he'd like to do? He'd like to bring you au pastilles. He'd like to give you au pastilles. He really would.
I like the sfigliatelle.
Now you know that's really Il Supremo, the way he says sfigliatelle. Listen, Il Supremo, this book, The Improbable Rise and Fall of John Gotti and His Gang. I'm going to interview the author of this book at 5 o'clock. Now, you'll be in your limousine going back to the airport. You're going back up to Albany. But if you're if you're able to, I'd like you to hear this interview. I'd like to know what you think of it.
Well, I listen enraptured to everything that you have to say, as I always do, Bob.
Now, I'm leading up
I'm not angry at you. It's you who are angry at me.
That's true.
Now, since I'm in the studio, I've tried unsuccessfully to patronize you, but ladies and gentlemen, true to form, Bob Grant tells the truth.
Okay. Thank you, El Supremo.
Don't mention.
I never thought I'd thank you for anything ever again.
Do is sit up there on your fat butt, and you're killing us. And the only way out is to get out of the state.
People say, I suppose, Ed.
If you ever become president,
Ed.
I will leave the country.
Ed?
Yeah.
Now, let me respond. Can I respond?
You can respond all you want. What good is it?
You don't understand what it means to be governor, to be an executive, to be responsible for all the people. What do you know about governance?
Because you tax us to death.
All right,
You're
wait a minute.
killing us with taxes.
All right, I'm going to explain. I suppose you want the death penalty. You want the death penalty, correct?
Go out at night and walk the street.
Ed, you should show a little respect for just because I have no.
I'm going to explain myself.
Just because I have no respect for him is no reason you shouldn't have any respect.
Does he have respect for my wife? They can't go out at night and walk the street.
I suppose. Would you want us to have the death penalty?
Yeah, I would. You should take every month.
We already have it. It's meted out 7 times a day on the streets of New York.
Your daughter who's been mugged. You want to talk to all the people who have been raped and shot? You can't go on the subways. You can't take the subways without fear of your life. You can't do anything in this damn city, and all you guys do is sit up there, and you don't give a damn.
Good. From what you're saying, I'm making an inference that you would refuse to pay more taxes.
Go on a subway at night one time.
Go on the subway.
Well, I don't happen to take the subway. I don't need a subway. You get elected governor. When you get elected governor, you won't have to take the subway either.
You take our money and you crap it away.
Hey, I don't like that kind of... You're talking to the governor. Have a little respect. Did you see Larry King? He respects you.
I'm an American citizen, mister, and I have a right to talk the way I want.
You're an American
The amendment of this country protects my right to
But what you're overlooking, Ed, is the fact that I know more than you do. I know more than anybody, except maybe Bob Grant.
Your kids go out, mine can't. All right. Kids can't go to public school without fear of drugs and God knows what else.
All right, Ed. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See? You said people wouldn't like me if I came out. This guy thinks highly of me. Look at the level of his emotions, Bob.
All right, Mike, you're on
Have
WA.
been. Past tense, had been.
And by the way, Mike, that battle originated in New Jersey when they were trying to ship in milk from New Jersey at lower prices.
You're trying to weasel out of this.
I was protecting the people.
Il Supremo, you're trying to weasel out of this. You're shirking your responsibility, Il Supremo.
Please let me get to my question before you make a defense.
Was told that he would not be appearing here today.
Well,
I think I recognize. He looks a little older, a little slouchier in the pouch than when I remember him.
Well, this gentleman here, with the pinstripe suit and the Homburg hat and the distinguished walking cane and the little carnation in his lapel, that is Paul Needlenose Menage.
Thank you, Bob. Hey, Il Supremo, how come you don't fess up to your connections?
Don Paulo. I would like to inform people of where my origins came from, but I have to be political with this. You know I respect you. I pay homage to you whenever I can.
Why'd you kiss my ring when I came in the studio? Because nobody could see it? You wouldn't do it if it was television, would you?
Bob, this is embarrassing. Seriously, I was promised that the Needle Nose would not appear with me here.
You are under no compunction, Your Excellency. You could walk out. You could refuse to talk to Paul Needlenose Menage. However,
this smacks of Roy Fredericks, plotting and scheming.
Roy Fredericks had nothing to do with Paul Needlenose Menage. Paul Needlenose Menage was in today because he wants to get an autographed copy of the book Kumba.
Paul, the entire Cuomo family, the entire Rafa family has love for you. You know that. I owe you everything. I'll say it. I'm not afraid. You're a fine man.
Well, how come you didn't come down to Allenwood and visit me, huh?
I have the problems of New York State to be concerned with.
The least you could have done was come down.
I sent you candy on Valentine's Day.
And I want you to know I shared a dormitory with Don Cheech.
You shared a dormitory with Don Cheech?
Yeah, Don Cheech. I shared a dormitory with Don Cheech.
He didn't tell you anything, did he?
And you know what the son of a gun does? At the middle of the night, he takes out a shoebox under the bed, he opens it up, and he has a big sandwich of arsenico, gabagool, provolone. It smells so good. Wake me up in the middle of the night.
No brajol?
Ah, brajol under the bed. You can't have a brajol under the bed.
No pasta
Ah, this under the bed.
Macchevro.
Yeah, that's what I say.
I tell you, dragged off the street to come up here and make a comment about something before we even know that you, Il Supremo, would even be up here. So, you're not afraid to face this constituent, are you?
I have nothing to be afraid of because I've done nothing wrong. I've done as good a job as I'm capable of doing.
Però, Bob, senta a me. Io mi credo che chi stai bucciato, pure che figli di italiano, quando vedi in che la faccia, ma pare che questa non è onesta. Ha capito? Tu, governatore, tutte cose che mi stai dicendo, no, non è verità.
Mannaggia, tu sei sfaggime.
Che mi ha chiamato a me, mi ha insultato il canco pure di io. Ma che stai una cosa? Ma che malavente? Mi sono insultato, Bob, che mi ha insultato il canco pure di io. Ma che l'ha già fatto?
In answer to that, what I've done for New York, I'll do for the country.
You call this gentleman Spacin. You're going to lose every Italian American vote in the state.
I couldn't. Ladies, wait a minute. We better get the bodyguard. The governor's being attacked, ladies and gentlemen. The governor's being attacked. I came up here. I'm being physically assaulted, ladies and gentlemen. Now I know what it's like to ride the subway. That guy asked me what it's like. Now I know. I'm being attacked.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this was has been, is a belated April Fool program. The part of Il Supremo was portrayed by J. Diner. The part of the maniacal citizen by Irazo Rossi.
Up there the other day, now I read in the Post, is it you who are encouraging this idle speculation whether I'm running or whether I'm not running?
Is this the Supreme one?
You know who it is. You know who it is. I was up there the other day. We went through the whole business. I have assured everybody I am not sending any mixed messages. And even through your vilification, even all throughout that hour vilification, again and again and again with the vilification, I sat there, I answered you, I answered your callers, I assuaged everyone's fears, everyone's doubts, and frankly, I'm afraid that I may be overdoing it on the Bob Grant program, but it seems that the public has such a clamoring for my presence that I couldn't avoid but to call you today and to tell you that this idle speculation is completely untrue. I haven't misled people as to my intentions for 92.
Well, what are your intentions, Governor?
On the one hand, I am running for governor. On the other hand, we will see what time foretells.
That sounds like a very ambiguous, sneaky response.
It's a politic answer, but it's the truth. I don't know what conditions are going to bring between now and 92. I do know that the state of New York has a gubernatorial election this coming year, and I intend to run for re-election. And I will announce that formally. What's going to happen to us as a nation in the next 2 years, no one can tell. Maybe you know something that I don't.
I do know something you don't, and I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to win because the Republicans are destroyed here in the state. It's a non-existent party, so you're going to win. You're going to win big, Governor. And then a year after that, or shortly after that, not a year, but shortly after that, you're going to resign, turn things over to Lundin, your stooge, and when you resign in your speech, you're going to say, the only way to save New York is through Washington, and therefore you have to go to Washington to save New York.
Now, why didn't I think of that?